What's up, Helldivers? Sly Spy Gaming here, and we have had tons of Helldivers news come out this week. If you've been following along to the channel, you'll know that we have covered tons of new leaks this week, as well as we've had a new update and more. However, in this specific video, we'll be covering all of the new weapon leaks that were released or that have been shown that have not been officially announced, but they are leaked and will be coming very soon. Before we dive into these new leaks, I did want to invite you all to come and join me Mondays and Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Central Time, where I live stream some of your favorite games, such as Helldivers and more. Also, before we dive in, this is your spoiler warning. We will be going over things that have not even been announced by the developers just yet. So this is your spoiler warning. If you don't want to find out more about the game and what has not technically been announced just yet, this is your chance to go and check out some of my other videos, which I have linked in the description below. Without further ado, let's get into all the new weapon leaks in Helldivers 2. So starting out, we'll look at the AR-20L Justice, which is a high caliber rifle with high damage and penetration. Honestly, damage does not really look to be that high, with it just being 80 damage here. Fire rate, though, does seem to be pretty good, with it being a 550 fire rate and having medium armor penetration. We'll see how this actually ends up doing when it is dropped, and again, not exactly sure when this is going to be dropped, whether this will be dropped with the Democratic Detonation Warbond or we're looking at another Warbond in the future. Additionally, we get another assault rifle, the AR-22C PATRIOT, compact rifle with extremely high fire rate, and you can see that fire rate is insane, 950 with the damage being 55. Now, I don't know if this is going to be something that you really want to switch out like your other weapons, like your breaker and stuff for, but here it is, the AR-22C PATRIOT. The only thing that could make this potentially better is if it is a one-handed weapon and you're able to hold it in one hand. Next, and we look at another assault rifle, the AR-48 Truth Whisperer, a silenced assault rifle with a built-in suppressor which won't alert distant targets to the user's position. Now, this is very, very interesting because I have been talking about how we should have some more silenced weapons, because anytime we get a shot off, the enemy instantly knows our location. Obviously, the devs had this same exact thought in their head, and they are adding the AR-48 Truth Whisperer to the mix. For all of you stealth builds out there, this is the perfect weapon that you're going to want to bring with you. Now, it might not have a ton of damage, not be a very heavy hitting weapon. The fire rate does actually seem to be pretty high on this weapon, and looks like you get some pretty good recoil on that as well. But if it doesn't alert distant targets, this could be honestly the way to go. We can actually see the Truth Whisperer in action here, and as you can see, when being shot, the bugs obviously know that shots are being fired from somewhere, but they don't know exactly where. And these are being shared by Mouse TTV on Reddit. Thanks for sharing this footage with us, Mouse. And yeah, this honestly looks like something that would be good against the smaller type enemies. When it comes to the larger type enemies, it is going to be difficult to get all the shots off and actually kill one of those enemies before they find out where you're at. I would like to see something of maybe a little bit more power that can potentially one-shot some of the heavier enemies that is also silenced, but that is probably not something that we'd see just because of how powerful exactly that's going to be. And you can see the fire rate on this thing is absolutely insane as well. We also get the BR-14 AJUDICATOR, a new marksman rifle that is going to be hitting Helldivers very soon. Again, not exactly sure, as these are leaks. These aren't necessarily release dates given out by the dev team, but it is an accurate armor penetrating rifle. The BR-14 AJUDICATOR delivers righteous judgment to medium-sized enemies, though its restrictive magazine limits its effectiveness against larger groups. As you can see, damage is pretty good, again at 80, and the fire rates, holy moly, 550 on that fire rate. That is pretty impressive for the damage being 80, but again, pretty low capacity. This is just showcasing the weapon. However, we do have some footage of the AJUDICATOR. As you can see, it does have the semi and auto function, so even though it does have that low capacity clip, you can switch between semi-auto fire or automatic fire on this weapon. Skipping ahead a little bit here, we'll get to see exactly how this fares against some of the enemy types here. And honestly, a full clip for some of these enemies, and I was really hoping that it would have a little bit more damage to it, a little bit more kind of oomph to the gun. Again, this is not the final version, so it could obviously be changed when it is finally released. But me personally, this probably isn't something that I'd be switching out my breaker main shotgun for. Additionally, we have the CB9 exploding crossbow. Now, this is a weapon that I do know will be coming to the Democratic Detonation Warbond. So whenever that does drop, which a lot of people are speculating is the second Thursday of each month, this is going to be another one that a lot of people are excited for. So the CB9 exploding crossbow fires powerful exploding bolts which do max damage upon direct impact. Gravity must be accounted for when aiming. So similar to something like the Plasma Punisher, this is obviously going to have some sort of an arc when it is shot, at least across some large distances. Now, this is something that's going to be really, really interesting to bring into battle, which could kind of swap out your, if you are a grenade launcher user, this is something that you could bring in that you would always have and use that extra stratagem slot for some other stratagems, whether that is the new vehicle or something like the Kazar cannon, which just dropped, which would actually be more effective in taking out the larger enemies. Going over its stats, we do see that it does have the damage of 150, capacity of only 5, but that is pretty good seeing as it's going to have 5 bolts before you actually need to reload, a recoil of 35 and a fire rate of 50, so it's going to be one shot reload, I'm assuming. Again, we do have some footage of the CB9 exploding crossbow as well from Mouse TTV. Again, thank you, Mouse, for showcasing this for us. Kind of a little bit difficult to see because I'm assuming that this is on Hellmire. We can see Mouse TTV kind of trying to use the exploding crossbow on some of these bug holes, and it just is not working very well. It's working on some of the smaller enemies, but I'm not sure how well this really fares as opposed to the grenade launcher. It does look like, to kind of balance it out, it does look like it is a little bit weaker than the grenade launcher. However, again, this is only a leak. This does not show the final gameplay of what the weapon is going to be like, so take this with a grain of salt, and you can try it out yourself when the Democratic Detonation Warbond does finally drop. We have another weapon leak here. This is another one that was leaked alongside the other weapons, and it is called the ERUPTOR. It just mentions that it is an explosive weapon, and it is a bolt action rifle that fires jet assisted shells that explode shrapnel in all directions upon impact. Not recommended for close quarter use. And as you can see, wow, this thing does 230 damage. Capacity again of 5, so you're gonna have a pretty limited clip there. A recoil of 75 and a fire rate of 25. And we do actually see a little bit of ERUPTOR gameplay here. Again, this is from user EmptyNez. Thank you again for sharing this with everybody. And it does look like it's actually doing quite a bit of damage, especially to these medium armor type of enemies. The fire rate on it, as you can see, is pretty slow, and with that capacity of 5, it can be a pretty slow weapon, but the amount of damage that it does is honestly pretty impressive. So this is something that you could use and would actually allow you to one-shot the factories and the bug holes, which is pretty impressive. The ERUPTOR is definitely something that you're going to want to keep in mind for the future when that does eventually drop. And again, not exactly sure if that's coming in the Democratic Detonation Warbond or not, but something to keep in mind for the future, as this could definitely be something that you want to add to your arsenal. We also get yet another version of the breaker shotgun, the SG225BB breaker BUGBITER. It is a heavier version of the breaker shotgun with higher damage at the cost of recoil and maneuverability. Now, personally, I don't honestly think that this would be better than the normal breaker shotgun, but wow. Look at that damage. 315 damage and a capacity of 15. Also has a fire rate of 180. I might take that back. This might actually be a pretty solid gun. Pretty high recoil of 49, but the problem is that it's only light armor penetrating. If I did want a higher damage breaker gun, I would like to see a little bit more armor penetration. Something like medium armor penetrating breaker would be a lot of fun. We also get, what do you know, yet another version of the breaker. Apparently the devs know people really like this gun. The SG225NS breaker NAILSPITTER. This is a modified breaker shotgun offering improved armor penetration and accuracy with exceptionally high levels of recoil. Now, a little bit less damage than the BUGBITER at 220, but here we go. This is what I'm looking for. The medium armor penetration has a capacity of only 10 as opposed to the BUGBITER, which has 15, and it does have a little bit higher recoil on this as well. The fire rate here, as you can see, is 220 compared to the BUGBITER, which is the 180. The big thing here is the medium armor penetration. Now, this is a weapon that I will definitely be considering. With the smaller capacity, that is hard to kind of manage that, having only a capacity of 10 on that. However, this is something that I'm looking forward to and I'm excited for when it does finally drop. And then here is the big boy here, the GP31 grenade pistol. A pistol that fires grenades must be reloaded between shots. So this is something that I sort of covered in my last leak video when I was talking about the Democratic Detonation Warbond, saying that this is something that is coming. However, we didn't really have names at that point. We didn't really have stats to show anybody. Now we have a look at the gun. We have the stats, the name. So this is coming for sure. And as you can see, pretty impressive damage, 250 damage on this one. And again, this is something that you'd bring in as a sidearm. This is definitely going to be something that I'm bringing in as a sidearm. It does have a capacity of 1, so it's a one-shot reload type of weapon, which should be okay as long as you're hitting, you know, the bug holes that you're shooting at or the factories that you're shooting at. This is mainly what I would be using this for, and in kind of dire situations. You also have a recoil of 43 and a fire rate of 900, but it is obviously one-handed and explosive. The only problem that I could see occurring is when you are having some of those kind of SSD transport type of missions where you have to hold on to the SSD and transport it to a certain location. This would not be a gun that you would want to use, let me tell you. Anyways, this is coming and I am super pumped for this. Definitely look for this in the upcoming Democratic Detonation Warbond. And then last on the list of the weapon leaks that are upcoming is the G123 Thermite. Now, me personally, I've never been a big fan of like the fire-based weapons, the napalm strikes, the flamethrower, things like that. I couldn't necessarily see me being someone that would take this on, just because me personally, I think there are much better grenades out there. If you're looking for straight up damage, the impact grenade is what you'd be looking for. And then there's also the new stun grenade from the Cutting Edge Warbond that was just dropped as well, which is a much better grenade for those kind of technical builds. It's one of the only grenades that will actually slow a Bile Titan, which is pretty impressive. So I don't know if I would technically go for the G123 Thermite. However, this is definitely a new weapon. Not exactly sure when this is going to be dropped, and I believe that this could honestly be dropped with the Democratic Detonation Warbond just because of kind of the styling of it. As for the description, it is a thermite grenade designed to adhere to surfaces before burning at 2000 degrees Celsius, capable of burning through some armor. See, that is the only thing that I would be interested in, and the fact that they do actually make it adhere to surfaces is what makes this a very, very interesting grenade that could be something that would be more useful in the field. More of like a sticky bomb, or like the thermite grenades that you would see in like Call of Duty or something like that. It will actually stick to an enemy. So I would like to see this more in action. I'd like to see something like how this fares against something like a Charger or something like a Hulk. And if it does take that down with one grenade, just thermite straight to it, this might be something to actually consider adding to your arsenal. And there you have it, everybody. That is most of the new weapons that have been leaked in Helldivers 2. We know a couple of those are coming out for the Democratic Detonation Warbond. As for the others, we are not entirely sure when those will be dropping. But if you want the full breakdown when we do get some more news, make sure that you hit that like and subscribe button. Also, don't forget to join me on Mondays and Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Central Time, where I live stream some of your favorite games. Thank you all for watching, and until next time, this is Sly Spy Gaming, signing out.